Meanwhile, China has opened another front with the United States. Xi Jinping is testing Donald Trump. Yesterday, he called the American president without any prior warning. And this rarely happens. Usually, it is the United States which initiates contact. This time, Beijing made the first move. Although China's foreign ministry has denied it, there are multiple reports that confirm that it was the Chinese side that initiated the call. And that makes it the first such outreach in over 2 decades. The last time something like this happened was in 2001, the year 2001. Back then, it was Chinese President Jiang Zemin and US President George H.W. Bush. This was right after the 9/11 attacks. Terrorists had struck the World Trade Center in New York, so Beijing reached out to Washington. And even then, Chinese President Jiang did not call his American counterpart. He sent a condolence message by telegram. In that context, yesterday's call stands out. A Chinese president calling the American president. And what was the call about? Well, Trump was quick to share the details. He issued a statement on his social media platform, Truth Social. He called the phone call, and I'm quoting, very good. Trump said that he discussed many topics with Xi, from the war in Ukraine to the fentanyl crisis and the trade of soybeans. They talked about all of it. Trump also announced his visit to China. He said he'll go to Beijing in April next year. And he made it sound like a routine call, like a polite check-in. But China's statement paints a very different picture. Because Trump left out 2 key points from his statement, Taiwan and Japan. Trump did not mention it. China did. On both fronts, Taiwan and Japan, China has issued pointed messages to the United States. Look at what Xi Jinping said on Taiwan. This is according to the Chinese statement. Xi told Trump that China's position remains unchanged and that Taiwan belongs to China. In fact, let me quote from what Xi Jinping said. Taiwan's return to China was an integral part of the post-war international order. So Xi is spelling out his red lines, not just to Washington, but to Tokyo as well. And that's the second big issue that came up. The Chinese statement does not name Japan directly, but it does make a reference, an indirect reference to Japan. Again, let me quote, China and the US once fought shoulder to shoulder against fascism and militarism and should work all the more closely together to safeguard the fruits of victory in World War II at present. That mention of World War II, it's not just about history, it's a reminder. China is reminding the US about its actions during World War II and the atrocities that Japan committed on China. You may remember this. During the war, Japan had invaded Taiwan. They occupied significant Chinese territory, including major cities like Shanghai and Nanjing. And they committed atrocities which are well documented. So the Chinese statement, bringing up the war, is like a veiled strike on Japan. The latest in a series of strikes, in fact. These 2 countries have been at loggerheads, China and Japan. They've been locked in a standoff. It began a couple of weeks back with a comment from the Japanese Prime Minister. Her name is Takaichi. She was asked a question. What would Japan do if China attacked Taiwan? That was the question. If China attacks Taiwan, what would Japan do? In response, the Prime Minister suggested that Japan could respond militarily. Of course, Beijing did not take it well, and it has been targeting Japan since then. Beijing has told its citizens, Chinese citizens, to not travel to Japan. This has hit Japan's tourism sector. Beijing has also told airlines to reduce flights to Japan to keep cutting them down till March next year. Beijing has also banned seafood imports from Japan. And it has complained to the United Nations. China has sent a letter to the UN chief criticizing Prime Minister Takaichi's statement. And now, the Chinese have taken this dispute to Donald Trump, which explains Trump's second phone call. After he spoke to Chinese President Xi, Trump dialed Tokyo. He spoke to Prime Minister Takaichi. She issued a statement soon after, and she said that Trump had requested the phone call. He briefed her about his conversation with Xi. He called her a quote-unquote very close friend, and he told her that she could call him anytime.
President Trump told me that we are very close friends and that I could call him at any time. Regarding the content of our talks, As it is related to diplomatic exchanges, I would like to refrain from disclosing details.
Now, this may sound routine, it's anything but. This is China making moves and dragging the US deeper into the Taiwan dispute. It is forcing Trump to pick a side. So where does he stand on Taiwan? Well, Trump has not spelled out his position clearly, although the US and Taiwan do have a defense agreement, an agreement that says if China attacks, the US will defend Taiwan. But it doesn't say how will it defend Taiwan. Militarily, politically, diplomatically, it's not clear. And that is by design. For decades, US presidents have been vague about defending Taiwan. They call it strategic ambiguity. Trump may be doing the same. He has shown little interest in a direct military role, but he hasn't cut Taiwan off either. The US still sells weapons to Taiwan, and this is what China wants to stop. So will Donald Trump oblige? Because stepping back now will have consequences, both for the US and for President Trump. It could damage US credibility in the region, or whatever is left of it. It could damage the credibility, especially with allies like Japan. More importantly for Trump, it could hurt his defense deals. So can he ignore China? Well, that comes with its own set of risks, including jeopardizing his trade truce with China. As things stand, Donald Trump is caught between a rock and a hard place. His own policy of using tariffs to build pressure has narrowed his room to maneuver. The tariffs made a lot of splash when they were announced, but now they've become a liability for Trump, and he finds himself boxed in.
They promised glory. They delivered fear. They shaped nations. They scarred generations. From brutal purges to propaganda machines, from stolen power to violent falls from the throne. Welcome to The Dictator, a series that strips away the myth and then exposes the men behind the tyranny. History remembers their power. Firstpost reveals their truth.